Hey everyone, my name is Hope Reed and I am a Ruby ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. I've been with Plexus for almost 3 years now, and I am super thankful and super excited about being a part of this group of other ambassadors who wanted to bring you this series of just being fearless. I feel like that fear is something that as humans we all deal with, and it's just a part of our everyday life. And so we teamed up and just did some brainstorming and thought that this was a great opportunity just to talk about this in ways that we can combat that. So we've already talked about just our mindset and how we need to change our mindset. Then we've talked about our self-esteem and building up our self-esteem and giving ourselves those self-affirmations. Then we've talked about building fearless relationships. And so today I want to just talk to you a little bit about changing our habits and what that looks like. One of the questions that I love is, how do we get good at fear? Since we're talking about fear, how do we get good at fear? That is from our habits. Did you know that our brains are like computers? They are completely programmed to do what we tell it to do. If you think back, as an infant, you learn to talk and you learn to crawl and you learn to walk. When you wake up in the morning, most of us don't stop and think about walking. We just put one foot down and we just take off. Our brains are used to that. That's become a habit of ours, and so that's just what we do. So our brains do what we tell it to do. We've just said that. So what are you telling your brain to do on a daily basis? What are you saying to yourself? Are you saying, I'm not a good leader, I don't know enough people, I don't know how to share Plexus, nobody will believe me? Just think about some of the statements that you might be telling yourself on a daily basis. We need to rechange those habits. Like I said, we've already talked about how our mind's affected by things, our self-esteem, and things we can do to change all of those type things. But we need to talk about changing our habits. I did some research, and to change habits, it takes a lot of discipline. It is a commitment, and it takes discipline. I think back to when I first began running. I don't like to call myself a runner, but I guess technically I am. Anybody that knows me will tell you I was not athletic growing up, never did anything, was not a runner. But several years ago, I decided I was going to take up the sport of running. And so I went from doing nothing, not even working out or exercising, to training to start running some like 5Ks, and then I worked my way up to some half marathons. But it was a process. I had to change my habits. I actually started out with a program called Couch to 5K, where you ran literally for just a few seconds and then you would stop and walk. So this was like a process, and I had to change what I was doing, but I had to make a commitment and be disciplined to do it. I have run several half marathons, and I've actually run 2 marathons, and most people that know me just laugh at that because they can't even see me doing it. But it takes discipline, and like I said, I had to change some habits for doing that. So when we're talking about our brain and trying to reprogram it, we have to tell our brain different things. We have to take those negative thoughts and make them, positive. One of my favorite Bible verses is 2 Timothy 1:7, and it says, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control." So if God didn't give us a spirit of fear, that fear can only come from one place, and that is Satan, and that is evil. And guys, he does not want us to win. He does not want us to be successful. And this is not just in Plexus. This is in our everyday life. So when we're talking about changing habits and what that looks like, I did a little bit of research, and there's several different opinions and different ideas out there on how to do that. But I think most of you probably know that to change habits, it takes about 21 to 40 days. The first thing is that you have to be disciplined. It takes a commitment to change those habits. But I found through researching, there is a behavioral psychologist named James Clear. You can Google him, and he's written some books and done some studies, and he breaks it down into what we call the 3 R's. And so I wanted to share that with you. And that is his suggestion on how to change habits, whether they're good or bad. We all have habits. That's a part of who we are and how we've been programmed, whether that's been how we've been raised or the environment that we live in, we're all a certain way, and it's all out of habit. But his 3 R's are broken down into, the first is reminder, the second would be routine, and the third R is reward. Now let's break those down just a little bit, and I'll give you some examples along the way. He first says that we need a reminder. We need something that triggers a reminder. So I thought about, I am not good at flossing my teeth. I'll just be honest. It's not something I do on a daily basis, and I should. So I do brush my teeth at least twice a day. So something I might be able to do is actually set some floss out next to my toothbrush. That would be a reminder that would trigger my brain that I need to floss. And then I would get into that routine. I have a routine of brushing my teeth every day. So I would get into a routine of flossing my teeth every day. That third R would come in as a reward. It may be something as simple as me patting myself on the back and saying, great job. I'm so proud of myself. I have flossed my teeth every single night for a week. Whatever that looks like. Those 3 R's can be applied to anything in our life. It can be applied to our health, changes that we want to make in our health. It can be applied to our job. It can be applied to just our personal life in general. When I thought about applying this to Plexus and how that would work for us, it may be something as simple as IPA. If you don't know what IPA is, it's income producing activity. And when I thought about how to break that down, you might want to set a reminder. Some people like to use their phone as a reminder to do their IPAs. I personally work off of my planner and using a calendar system. Whatever that system is, you need a reminder to do your IPAs. The second R, routine, would be getting in a routine of doing that every single day, making a commitment, being disciplined to do that. We have a reminder that triggers our brain that we have to do this today. Therefore, we would get into a routine and it would become a daily habit of completing that IPA. The third would be reward. How are we rewarded for completing that IPA? You might, again, give yourself a shout out, that self-talk, those positive affirmations for completing your IPA for an entire week. The reward comes when you start to see your business and your team grow. You start to get a customer. Your income starts to go up. You maybe win a bonus. You might rank up. Those are just some of the rewards that you would get for completing your IPA. Now that's just something very simplified. I love how James broke it down into something that we could all apply to our lives. You might struggle with drinking water. I hear that a lot from people. You would set a reminder. Some people have apps they use on their phone or even set a reminder on their watch about drinking their water. I've seen people's alarms go off on their phone to remind them to take, a sip of water. So you would set a reminder. You might buy yourself a water bottle and get into a routine of drinking that every day. It becomes very self-conscious, and it goes back to discipline and making that decision to stick to a routine, and then reward yourselves at the end of that. Whatever that looks like to you, it can be lots of different things. This is something that we can all do. It applies to every person, and I'm talking to myself too. If there are things that are not working for us, then we might want to consider changing them. Don't let fear hold you back. We can change a habit. Any habit can be changed. That is scientifically proven. It's just something that becomes repetitive when you do it over and over and over again. But again, it takes discipline, it takes commitment, and it takes self-control to do that. I'm going to leave you with this because I read this statement by Aristotle, and I thought it's simple but yet so profound. And when you hear it, you'll understand why. Because we're all striving to succeed at something, whether it's our health journey, whether it's the business side of Plexus, whatever it is. If it's just stepping out and putting ourselves out there, we're all striving to do something. But Aristotle says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So if we want to be excellent, let's create those habits to be excellent. Let's create those habits to be great, to be awesome. At whatever it is, know your goals, write them out, know your whys, and then let's create strategic habits to get us to where we want to be. We can all do this together. Reach out to your upline if you have questions or concerns or just need some encouragement in changing those habits, because we can do it. We can all strive for excellence because it is merely a habit. Thanks, guys.